Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by thebigfouraccountingfirms.com. Check out our blog and subscribe to our podcast for career advice, recruiting secrets, and the latest Big Four news. Hope you enjoy the show.
Today we're going to be talking about the KPMG South Africa scandal and the latest impacts that it's having on KPMG's business. And the impact of the South Africa scandal is that it's having a disastrous level of impact on KPMG South Africa. And the latest news is that the headcount of KPMG South Africa will drop by 400 employees after the recent accounting scandals in South Africa. And the accounting scandals there have caused KPMG to lose key clients like Barclays South Africa and the South Africa Auditor General contract. And it's that South Africa Auditor General contract that has really caused KPMG to get rid of all these jobs. And these headcount reductions will impact 4 offices within South Africa. And the people will be leaving those offices, but also those offices will be closing. And the loss of the jobs and the closure of these offices are a result of the recent Gupta Scandal and the VBS Bank Scandal that we've covered in previous podcasts and previous blog posts on our website, big4accountingfirms.com. Now, most of the job losses will be lost in the firm's audit line of service, but there will also be losses in the consulting and administrative lines of service of KPMG South Africa. And some interesting things to note about KPMG South Africa is that there used to be 3,400 professionals in the KPMG South Africa office before these scandals. But since then, 800 professionals have left the firm in KPMG South Africa. This leaves that firm with about 2,600 professionals before this latest cut. And with this latest cut, there will only be about 2,200 staff people left in KPMG South Africa. But there will still be about 130 partners in the region, which KPMG claims gives them a strong presence in the region. But unfortunately, this does not give KPMG International much confidence in the region. So they are going to be sending senior members of leadership into KPMG South Africa. And there's no word exactly where these KPMG International partners will come from, but they're going to help change the KPMG South Africa firm for the better. And these executives will take leadership positions within KPMG South Africa, including board positions and senior client service positions. This means that they will most likely take over leadership positions on KPMG South Africa's largest clients. And KPMG South Africa's CEO says that these changes were needed and are welcomed, and that KPMG South Africa will focus on doing fewer things in a better fashion. And these new leaders that they're bringing in from KPMG International will no doubt try to improve the morale in the region, including improving controls within KPMG and also the procedures. And they will also likely try to rebuild the brand of KPMG in the region and try to keep existing clients in addition to winning new clients. Because that's what's happening here is all these clients are scared of the KPMG brand and they're fleeing and they're firing KPMG in the region. And KPMG International, since there are still a large number of clients in the region and there's a large number of professionals, about 3,000 professionals, you don't want to completely lose that region. And that's what KPMG is facing here. They're facing losing every single client in this region, which no doubt is tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. And they can't afford to lose that. And even if they could afford to lose it, let's say it's tens of millions of dollars, that's not that much money for KPMG as they make $26 billion a year. But it's a huge hit to their brand. And it sets a terrible precedent. It sets a terrible precedent that they can be pushed out of a region because of an accounting scandal. And these accounting scandals happen all over the world for these accounting firms all the time. And if one region pushes out an accounting firm, then who knows which region is next. And this would be terrible for a KPMG Europe if South Africa kicked KPMG out of the region, because Europe has the most regulation and is looking into imposing more regulations. And they might think about kicking KPMG and the other accounting firms out of regions or countries altogether if the precedent is set. But also clients all over the world would be okay with kicking these firms out of the region. And it's already happened in some regions. For example, in India, PwC is banned for a couple of years. So KPMG is trying to prevent a ban, but they're also trying to prevent the scandal from making them lose all their clients in the region. So it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on this as it keeps getting worse and worse. Employees have already fled the region, and 800 of them already quit in South Africa from KPMG, and now 400 more are going to be fired or leaving the firm. And this is really an existential crisis for KPMG, as they're losing over 20% of their initial workforce. And so that means they're probably losing over 20% or 30% of their revenue. As you know, in the Big Four, revenue is based on hours charged to clients. And so if you don't have people there to charge hours, then how are you making revenue? This is really a huge scandal, and this is really a huge issue. And it's important to keep an eye on it and subscribe to this podcast, and make sure to visit our website, big4accountingfirms.com, to stay tuned to this and learn about the impacts of it. And it's also important for you, if you're going to be working for KPMG or one of these firms, to consider your brand and how it aligns with KPMG or whichever firm you choose to go. You don't want to choose a firm that's going to diminish your brand. For example, if you go to work for KPMG South Africa, you have to consider the negative impact it might have on your brand. And any firm you go to, if you go to PwC in India, that might have a negative impact on your brand as they come out of a ban or as they go into the ban. You have to be considering this, and you have to be very careful whether you want to go to work for a firm that has a very bad brand. And these scandals won't last forever, but you also don't want to be in the firm that's in one of these scandals in one of these regions, because people will always ask you, oh, were you there for that scandal in that region? For example, Arthur Andersen during Enron. Anybody that worked at Arthur Andersen is sort of associated with Enron and accounting scandals. And, it's not held against people, but it's kind of pairs you with the brand. So you have to be very careful and be very cognizant of your brand as you choose which firm you're going to work for, or whether or not you're going to stay with the firm. So make sure to subscribe to this podcast and to visit our website, big4accountingfirms.com, to stay up to date on all the latest accounting scandal news.
If you need help and guidance through your Big Four recruiting process, make sure to check out our links to our books and courses in the show notes below. For additional Big Four career insights, tips, and tactics, visit our Patreon page, whereas for as little as $1, you could start receiving unique guides and checklists to help you throughout your career. Support us by not only donating to our Patreon page, but also by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player today.